Okay. So before we jump into this story, I think one of the things you all really need to know is that it happened like in a different era. It was just a very different time, so you have to kind of get your mindset not in today's normal, but in a different time. The year was 2014. It was pretty different. Barack Obama was the president, you know? We were like 2 presidents back at the U of A, remember? And then like we're only one head basketball coach back, but we don't even say that guy's name anymore. You know, Sean Miller, used to do commercials for Hughes Federal Credit Union in 2014, and now it's like he didn't even exist. Sean Hughes. So like, it was 2014, like late winter, early spring, and like the world was really different. Like, you know, Prince Harry was still a royal, you know? I had never said pandemic colloquially. You know, things were really different then. And things were really different like in my own personal life too, because I was kind of coming into this like late 20s serious adulthood moment where like things were feeling really stable for the first time in a long time. Like I had just moved in with my then boyfriend, now husband, Dan. You're gonna wanna remember that name, he comes back up. I had just moved in with him. We were living together. I was going to graduate school. He was still pretty early in his career, but like we had this really like kind of stable routine where like he would get up and go to work, and then I would go to school, and then I would go to work, and then on Fridays like I would wash his laundry, and then he would pay all my bills, and like he would like on the weekends. I know it's really still going. On the weekends, I was starting grad school, and I'm a slow reader, and so I would spend all weekend trying to do well in graduate school, but he was early in his career, and so if he wasn't on call at the hospital, he would be like outdoors recreating somewhere, like mountain climbing or biking or something like that. And that was our routine. And our friends were getting into this really stable routine too. Like our friends were like getting married and having kids and finishing grad school and buying houses. And so one particular Saturday, I remember I had been reading all day, and he had been out climbing all day on Mount Lemon, and he came home, and I was like, keep your coat on, we're going to a party. And he was like, I don't want to go to a party, I'm tired and I'm hungry. And I was like, don't worry, there's gonna be food there. It was, you know, because it wasn't like a rager party. We were adults, we had things to do the next day. You know, my friend's a homeowner, like we're gonna go to bed early, it's fine. It's like, there's gonna be snacks, get your coat on, let's go. So we get in the car, and we drive, you know, a couple, like it's a 5-minute drive to my friend's house, and she didn't disappoint. There was a great table of snacks. She like made a punch. There was like craft beer in a cooler, you know, no keg. There was like a Bluetooth speaker softly playing early 2000s and late 90s alternative rock. Like it was like a really chill party, and it was really nice. It was really fun. I was just like, okay, this is why we're here. Let's do this, guys. And so we're all just standing around. We're having a nice little chit chat. We're like kind of trading stories of our grown-up lives, you know, like school and work and family and all this stuff. And so we're standing in a little circle, and we're kind of just chit-chatting and joking around. And here comes the kind of record scratch moment. At one point, I looked over, and there was like a girl who was like kind of like laying face down in like just kind of hovering over her own vomit. And it wasn't like that kind of party. Like it wasn't a lay in your vomit party, you know? Like there were backyard chickens, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't that kind of thing. And so I'm like frozen. I'm just kind of staring at this girl. my then boyfriend, now husband, Dan, finally, he actually snaps into action, goes over and helps her. Got it, sir. He goes over and actually starts to help her to her feet, keeps her from crashing into the chimney. And I'm like, don't worry guys, my boyfriend's got it covered because he's a doctor. Don't even worry. That's my boyfriend. He's a physician. He's got it under control. I'm handling the PR side of this. He's making sure she's safe. He rejoins our little group and he goes, and somebody goes, oh, that girl had a lot of those pot brownies. You're all laughing because I'm here on stage telling you this story, so you know what happens next. Dan goes, which ones were the pot brownies? And I snap into denial. I was probably not anything that we had anything to do with. But sure enough, we head home not long later, and when we get in the car, Dan was like, it was definitely a pot brownie that I had, and I don't feel good, and I don't know what to do. And I was just like, oh, that's a shame. I stuck to savory, so it's fine though. We're gonna just sleep it off. We're gonna sleep this off. It's gonna be fine. So we drive the 5 minutes home, and we park at the curb where I always park, and he goes, I was like, okay, well, let's head on inside. What do you think? And he was just like, I can't. My legs and arms feel wooden. I'm like, well, mind over matter, so let's get going. I'm just like, what's wrong with him? We're just gonna sleep this off. So we get inside and he's just like, do you think I should go to the emergency room? And I was like, no. It was a different time, guys. I think Colorado had barely just legalized marijuana. I was like, that is a terrible idea. I think I've mentioned he was a doctor. You don't want to live on my salary. And so so I was, you know what, let's get ready for bed. I go to get him a glass of water from the kitchen because I know he's about to get some real bad cotton mouth. And he goes and starts flossing his teeth. And so then I went back over to the bathroom after I got him a glass of water, and it's like a Sam Hughes bungalow. So it's I'm never out of eye shot. I'm just it was like this. That's how long it was. And he looks at me and he goes, where have you been? And I was like, I got you a glass of water. You're welcome. Are you done flossing? And he was like, it feels like you've been gone for hours and hours and hours and hours. No, I'm not done flossing. I was like, okay, well, let's wrap it up. So we get into the bedroom, and I was just like, let's get your jammies on, we're okay. And so he takes off his sweater, and he kind of just throws it on the bed, which is not like him. He's a pretty tidy guy. And so I took the sweater and tried to be helpful, and I put it in the laundry basket, and he snaps his head, and he goes, it's a wool sweater. Well, we don't dry clean sheep, and so I think it's gonna be fine. And he was just like, I was like, it smells like a campfire. You can't not wash it. And he's like, it just needs to be aired out. I was like, okay, we need to go to bed. He's like, I need the antidote. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I told you to go to bed, but we don't have any SpaghettiOs. I don't know what to tell you. I'm out of ideas. Let's go to bed. But then I start thinking, oh my gosh, what if this wasn't weed? What if I'm really just keeping him from going to the hospital, and all this time he's actually had something wrong with him, he's poisoned, and I'm held responsible. I always wanted to be on the news, but not for this, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, okay, let's say we go to the hospital. Do you want to go to UMC, or would you like to go to another hospital? And he goes, UMC? Do you mean the University of Arizona Medical Center, where I work? And I was like, obviously you knew what I meant, Dan. Never mind. I should have listened to my instincts. We're going to bed. Okay, so we get into bed, and I can't even describe it to you. It was just the worst and also funniest night of my life. But we wake up the next morning, and the sun is coming through the window, And I look over and he's already awake, and I have this thought, I'm like, what if he's still stoned? But he looks at me and he goes, that was awful. And I was like, oh, you're back, you're back. And that was just the story of the worst and funniest night of my life, and it was just such a, like, wait, what moment that really kind of made me think about all the things that are different about my life now than then. And yet, how so many things still are the same. Like, that is not the last time he lectured me about how to do his laundry. And we've been married for 10 years in February, and now we had 2 children together, and they also lecture me about things when they are absolutely helpless without me. I come to their aid, they're dependent upon me, and yet I'm the one who's taking all of this. I'm also the same. Like, I have about the same level of denial / laser focus / a tiny bit of nurturing instinct when it comes to my own children getting hurt. You know, I'm like, oh, you hit your head, hold pressure. I have one more load of laundry, then we can do this. So, anyway, the point of the story is that. What is the point? The point of the story is that a lot of things can feel like really heightened in the moment. Not just, the fact that he accidentally got stoned. By the way, it was the girl who was passed out in her own vomit. She was the one who drugged the brownies and didn't tell anybody. It can really feel like that in the moment. Everything is heightened. And everything in my life was heightened in the moment. Everything felt so busy and intense, and like I needed to go to bed early because I needed to wake up and get things done. But we can look back and kind of realize that it's pretty small in the grand scheme of things. And so I'm hoping that never happens again. But that was my wait what moment.